Hi, my name is Edward Leong, and I work for the YMCA of Eastern Ontario. Welcome to the YGAP video series. And here we break down new research and answer important questions about youth and gambling. At YGAP, or the Youth Gambling Awareness Program, our mission is to raise awareness amongst youth aged 8 to 24 and adults involved in youth lives across Ontario through free services using a balanced and neutral lens as as well as providing relevant harm reduction strategies. This is our last video in our series on gambling and media. Today, my colleagues Sarah and Keely will be talking about the current gambling ad regulations and harm reduction strategies.
I'm really excited about today's talk, Keely. Last time we covered loot boxes, freemium models, and esports betting, which are new ways that youth can gamble.
Absolutely, Sarah. I'm really excited too. That was a great video, and if you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out. In this video, we're going to talk about gambling rules and regulations. I know this isn't the most exciting thing to talk about, but it's really important, and we're going to break it all down.
Yeah, you're right. So where should we start?
Well, Sarah, I think we should start with defining gambling as we do with all of our videos.
Great idea, Keely. So here at YGAP, we say that gambling is when you risk something of value and you don't know if you will win or lose.
Absolutely. And we talked in our last video about how loot boxes fall under YGAP's definition of gambling, but not Canada's legal definition of gambling, because the prize you win isn't technically considered money's worth.
Yeah, absolutely, Keely. So let's get to our first question. How does Canada regulate gambling?
Well, it depends because they change from province to province. That's because provincial governments set and regulate gambling. So, for example, here in Ontario, we have the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario, who runs the OLG, or Ontario Lotto and Gaming Corporation.
I feel like I've definitely seen OLG's ads before.
Yeah, me too. Like, for example, the Lotto 649.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like ads can play a pretty big role in impacting how we perceive things. Are there current regulations on what OLG can or can't include in their marketing material?
Great question. So there are, several regulations that OLG has to listen to.
I definitely feel like that makes a lot of sense. What are some of them?
Well, for example, they can't use language, cartoons, or role models that appeal to minors or have ads outside of schools or other youth-oriented locations.
I guess now that you mention it, I have never seen a billboard advertising gambling beside a school. I'd really never noticed that before.
Yeah, me too. It really does make sense, though, as a way to help protect youth. They also can't have misleading information that implies you need gambling for social acceptance or a way to win back losses.
Yeah, I guess that doesn't really represent reality, does it?
No, not at all. It doesn't.
Yeah, well, that all makes a lot of sense. Should we talk about the US now?
Absolutely, yes, let's do it. Sarah, so how does the US regulate gambling?
Well, so actually, similarly to Canada, gambling in the US is regulated differently in each state.
Right. They can have different rules on things like the lottery, casino gambling, sports betting, gambling ads, and online gambling.
There is one industry across the US that is regulated, the casino industry through the American Gaming Association, or AGA. They have similar restrictions to Canada, but other marketing regulations change by state and activity.
Fantastic. Thanks. So I feel like we have covered some really important points about gambling ad regulation, Sarah.
Yeah, I think so too. But while these regulations help to protect youth from the risks of gambling, youth still experience problem gambling at 2 to 4 times higher rates than adults. And I think we can do more to protect youth.
I agree. And just to remind people, when we talk about problem gambling, what do we mean?
Yeah, so here at YGAP, we say that problem gambling is when the activity starts to impact your life in a negative way.
Right. And the negative impacts of gambling are different from each individual and may affect them as well as their family, friends, and even larger community.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it's important for us to think of a lot of things that can be put at place at all different levels to protect youth.
It sounds a little bit like you're talking about harm reduction.
I guess I kind of am. Do you want to define what harm reduction is?
Definitely. So we hear about harm reduction often on issues like addictions, but there are everyday examples of harm reductions or ways that we reduce risk to stay safe when participating in an activity.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like a simple example of this is even just putting on a helmet when you're riding a bike.
Right. And earlier we talked about some gambling ad regulations that are already in place, which are examples of harm reduction strategies.
Definitely, but research shows us that we can do more. So, for example, we talked about in our other videos how 42% of almost half of youth said immediately after seeing a gambling ad, it made them want to try gambling, and 7% of youth made an immediate gambling purchase.
That's a lot of youth when you think about it. Sarah, there are some gambling regulation recommendations that we do want to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go for it.
Great, I can start. So 1, gambling companies should not be able to promote or advertise by sponsoring sports events or teams.
Wow, I feel like even that could make a pretty big impact.
I agree. And 2, gambling sites that are pay to play and free should have the same ad restrictions as other gambling products. Free gambling sites can't have ads or links to online gambling sites, and they need to have the same payout rate.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. Okay, so for 3, all information in gambling ads should be accurate and have a visible warning statement about the risks.
That would really help to reflect the reality of gambling activities.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. And finally, regulations should be mandatory, enforced, and independently evaluated.
These are some pretty interesting suggestions.
Yeah, I agree. And this research also shows us that learning and understanding the possible harms helps people make more informed decisions around gambling.
And that's also exactly what the Youth Gambling Awareness Program, or YGAP, aims to provide.
Yeah, definitely. So for example, in YGAP's Media Impact Workshop, we cover common gambling ad themes, help develop media literacy and critical thinking skills.
For sure. Take lottery ads, for example. What do we often see in lottery commercials?
Well, I feel like we see a lot of things like mansions or sports cars or like life on the beach.
Yeah, exactly. Ideas like glamour, high social status, and lifestyles are really some of the most common ones that we see in these ads.
Right. And it shows what looks like a pretty easy choice to make. Purchase a lottery ticket and so that we can enjoy the luxuries made possible by a big lottery win.
Yes, and these ads can imply that a life free from everyday financial worries and stress.
Yeah, that would be pretty nice, but unfortunately that's not the reality, is it?
You're right, it's not. The reality is that gambling is high risk and a low reward activity, but gambling ads make it seem like there's no risk at all, showing just the rewards.
Yeah, we encourage questioning the intent behind gambling advertisement, observing what information is there, what they're leaving out, and paying attention to the specific advertising techniques or themes being used in the ad.
Absolutely. And if you're interested in learning more or are looking for more information on our program, please visit us at ymcagta.org.
Yeah, thanks, Keely. And to finish up this video, as we always do, we're gonna share some information of where you can get free and confidential support in your community. So if you want more information, or if you ever feel like you need to talk to someone about gambling, there is Connex Ontario, which is CONNEX Ontario. It's available online or by phone at 1-866-531-2600.
Thank you so much. And that wraps up this YGAP video series on gambling and media. We hope you will join us in our next one. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great day.